Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Uh, we're going to be doing part two of Surah Al-Mulk today. But before we go there, as always, let's start with a review of part one in this Tazkiyah bil-Quran series. We are still at the beginning of the 29th juz, having completed the 30th one. And last week, in the first part of Surah Al-Mulk, here are the lessons that we drew from it. Firstly, all blessings come solely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where the surah starts with the word tabarak. Tabarak meaning the barakah in our blessings. And it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has dominion over all creation and over life and death. The second lesson that we got was that it is for us to reflect on the verses of Surah Al-Mulk, because on the Day of Judgment, it will intercede on behalf of those who recite it regularly. The third lesson that we got from it was that it is our role as human beings to observe the universe and to recognize the perfection and complex harmony of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And finally, we had learned in Surah Al-Mulk that people will end up in two groups when presented with all of this evidence that we get from our senses, from seeing the world, from observing, from thinking, from reflecting. So people will end up in two groups. The first group is those who will humble themselves by believing in the unseen, seeking the reward for forgiveness, the reward of forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first type. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us to be in that group. The second group is those who arrogantly will continue to deny the truth, and really it is because of their arrogance that they will be doing this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that they will face dire consequences. That was the first part of Surah Al-Mulk. I had also told you the story of a companion of the Prophet whose name was Khubayb the son of Adi, or Khubayb bin Adi. And this person had been captured by the Quraysh soon after the Battle of Badr, and they had taken out their anger by torturing him to death. And while he was being tortured, he was asked whether he would not prefer that it was Muhammad in his place, and he said, never. I would not prefer that I was resting in my home, and the Prophet would even get a single thorn that would prick him. And among the people of Quraysh who were observing all of this happen, there was one man whose name I had mentioned last time. I had not told you his story. His name was Sa'id, the son of Amir, or Sa'id bin Amir. So he was observing all of this, and he was deeply affected by what he saw. He was not a Muslim at that time, but he was deeply affected by the conviction of Khubayb, by the depth of his belief, by the strength of his belief. He had never seen anyone like that. And he had, frankly, never seen anyone go through that kind of torture. So Sa'id was deeply affected by it. And today, inshallah, in the second part of Surah Al-Mulk, I will tell you Sa'id's story. Khubayb passed away, became a shaheed. But today, inshallah, we will look at the life that Sa'id bin Amir ended up leading as a result of what he observed that day. So Surah Al-Mulk, we're going to continue on from where we left off. In the second part, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the psychology of human beings in a very compassionate manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing us and asking us questions to help us think. So I'm going to put it in the form of clusters of verses, that each cluster is a question that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us. And really, you will notice that these questions address the psychology of human beings. So the first question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks is, وَأَسِرُّوا قَوْلَكُمْ أَوْ اجْهَرُوا بِهِ, whether you speak secretly or openly. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, surely knows best what is hidden in the hearts. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ, How could He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, not know His own creation? هُوَ الَّذِي جَعْلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how could He not know His own creation? For He alone is the most subtle. He knows the details. He's all aware. And He's the one who smoothed out the earth for you. So move about in it, in its regions, and eat from His provisions. And to Him is the resurrection of all. Imagine that we're talking about somebody who made a watch. Yeah, a watch. The person who made the watch, who designed the watch, who fashioned all the components and put them together, obviously knows how the watch works. He knows how, what will help the watch continue to work, what will prevent it from working. He knows what makes it tick. He knows what doesn't. He knows what's good for it. He knows what's bad for it. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. So would he not know about us? We are tiny. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then mentions the earth that, yeah, you think you're special, but look at this huge planet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid it out and spread it such that it has provisions for us. We can walk along on it. Imagine the one who created all of this. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, benefit from this earth, but do not forget that you are here for a short period of time and eventually you are going back. Khubayb knew the answer to this question. He had understood the answer to this question. And Sa'id, observing him, recognized that Khubayb knew something that he did not. Then the second question Allah asks, are you out of Allah's reach? Here's how he asks. Do you feel secure that the one who is in heaven will not cause the earth to swallow you up as it quakes violently? Meaning, do you not realize how fragile this whole system is? Are you not afraid? Do you not hear about natural disasters that wipe away civilizations? Tornadoes, floods, tsunamis, earthquakes. أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير? Or do you feel secure that the one who is in heaven will not unleash upon you a storm of stones? Only then would you know how serious Allah's warning was. وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. And certainly those before you denied as well. Then how severe was my response? Do you not move around to see what happened to those before you? Frankly, even in our own country, if you move around, there are remains of many civilizations who came one after another before us. They were once mighty. Today, they are gone. When we see those remains, do we not think about this? Do we not think that one day we will also be gone? And that is our reality. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us we are not beyond the reach of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Question number 3. Do you not see Allah's power? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ وَيَقْبِضْنَ مَا يُمْسِكُهُنَّ إِلَّا الرَّحْمَنُ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ بَصِيرٌ. Have they not seen the birds above them spreading and folding their wings? None holds them up except the most compassionate. Indeed, He is all-seeing of everything. These are the wonders of the world, are they not? Do we not see the wonders of this world and think about how they came to be? Flight is a wonder. Whether you are scientifically oriented or not, in both cases, it is amazing that it happens. It is amazing that things fly. It is amazing that we're able to, of course, in physics, we'll say that there's more pressure below the wing and less pressure above the wing, and that creates lift. Yeah, sure, that's an explanation of what is happening, but it is not an explanation of what allows it to happen. There's that famous song, I think it's meant for children. What a wonderful world. And in that song, there's a celebration of the many miracles of the trees and of the sun and of the breeze and of these birds in flight and of the fish in the sea. The song describes all of these miracles, but doesn't even mention for once the one who brought all of these miracles to pass. That is how we are too. We see all of these things happening around us and we think, yeah, that's usual. Yeah, it happens. That's how it is. We don't think about what allows it to happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting us. Do you not see Allah's power? It's all around you. أَمَّنْ هَذَا الَّذِي هُوَ جُنْدٌ لَكُمْ يَنْصُرُكُم مِّن دُونِ الرَّحْمَنِ إِنِ الْكَافِرُونَ إِلَّا فِي غُرُورٍ. And which weak or powerless force will come to your help instead of the most compassionate? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always there to help us. Indeed, the disbelievers are only lost in delusion. Notice how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes himself. It is His mercy, the most compassionate. أَمَّنْ هَذَا الَّذِي يَرْزُقُكُمْ إِنْ أَمْسَكَ رِزْقَهُ بَلْ لَجُّوا فِي عُتُوٍّ وَنُفُورٍ. Or who is it that will provide for you if he subhanahu wa ta'ala withholds his provision? In fact, they persist in arrogance and aversion to the truth. The way we get our food, my brothers and sisters, the way we get our food and water is also miraculous. Think, the definition of a miracle is something that is beyond our ability to imagine how it would become possible. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stops these miraculous wonders, what will we do? And then think about, how is this arrogance justified? If one day rain stops, we don't have access to water, we can't grow our food, we have no control over this. Already the climate is changing and people are worried because of climate change. They're worried about crop failures. We're beginning to realize our weakness, but we still don't think about the one who always made it possible for us. It is not a guarantee that we will get our food. It is out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's immense mercy that we get access to food. Why be arrogant then? Recognize our status, recognize our station. Next question. Then, are people who believe equal to those who do not? No, they're not. Because this is a question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking. أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ أَهْدَى أَمَّنْ يَمْشِي سَوِيًّا عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Who is rightly guided then? The one who crawls face down or the one who walks straight up on the straight path? This is, in other places in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the difference between humans and animals. هُمْ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. They are like animals, but even worse. The difference between animals and human beings is that animals act by instinct only. They don't have to think about right and wrong. They act by instinct alone. Human beings have been given the faculty to think, to analyze, to look at what's happened in the past, to look at those trends, and then think about the future. So really, the true humans are the ones who fulfill their role in humanity with a clear purpose that is beyond their own life. Such a person is the one who walks upright. The rest of us are like animals. We eat, we sleep, and we repeat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, do not be like animals. Do not just be the consumers who will eat, sleep, and repeat. Think. Use the faculties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Next question. Think about who created you. You're here, right? We exist. We are breathing. We can see. We can hear. Who created us? قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي ذَرَأَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. Say, O Prophet, He is the one who brought you into being and gave you hearing, sight, and intellect. Yet, you hardly give any thanks. You don't think even about yourself, do you? And also say, He is the one who has dispersed you all over the earth, and to Him you will all be gathered. Think about the role of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives. It is here. We have this role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plays in our lives every day. This role is present. It's visible to those who look. This is the fifth question. Then the next questions. Do you still deny the hour? So knowing all of this, knowing about your existence, knowing about all of these miracles around you, do you still deny the hour? وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Still they ask the believers, when will this threat come to pass if what you say is true? قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Say, O Prophet, that knowledge is with Allah alone, and I am only sent with a clear warning. It is, remember in the first part of the surah, we saw that people will be divided into two groups. One who will recognize the truth, but that was only possible if they were humbling themselves. And the other will not notice the temporariness of this life and the reality of this life. They will just be too arrogant and they will just reject the truth. That's the second group. And the second group is now asking the first group, okay, when will this be? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet ﷺ to tell them that even believers do not really have control of everything. We only know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us. فلما رأوه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون. Then when they see the torment drawing near, the faces of the disbelievers will become gloomy, and it will be said to them, this is what you claimed would never come. Here, you see, at the end of the surah, we are reminded that those who deny will see for themselves the torment that they were being warned about. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make us among them. I mean, the last question. So, who else can aid you? The reality is that we always need help. Who else can aid you? قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَهْلَكَنِيَ اللَّهُ وَمَنْ مَعِيَ أَوْ رَحِمَنَا فَمَنْ يُجِيرُ الْكَافِرِينَ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Say, O Prophet, consider this, whether Allah causes me and those with me to die or shows us mercy, who will save the disbelievers from a painful punishment? قُلْ هُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ آمَنَّا بِهِ وَعَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْنَا فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ هُوَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Say, He is subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate. Notice the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to describe himself. Again, the most compassionate. In him alone we believe, and in him alone we trust. You will soon know who is clearly astray. Those of us who believe are also dependent on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the Prophet ﷺ said, even for him, ﷺ, Jannah is not guaranteed, he said, until Allah envelops me in his mercy. That's him, ﷺ. Think about that. So even for us, we depend on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his mercy is immense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written upon himself mercy. So, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَصْبَحَ مَاؤُكُمْ غَوْرًا فَمَنْ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِمَاءٍ مَعِينٍ. And that mercy is visible in this world as well. Say, consider this, if your water were to sink into the earth, then who else could bring you flowing water again after that? You see how dependent we are on his mercy in the world? We can't even control the availability of water. If the water in the underground aquifers disappears, it goes low, we have no control. You will dig a bore, and then you will discover there's no water there. Another one. And it used to be water here, but there's no water there anymore. Take heed. We get water out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That mercy is available to us here. And that mercy is available to us in the hereafter as well, if we only pay heed. This was Surah Al-Mulk, my brothers and sisters. Now, here are the topics that we covered in Surah Al-Mulk. The second part of Surah Al-Mulk. First of all, warning to those who reject the message that they will regret it when they see the punishment. There is accountability upon resurrection. 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power is visible in the birds soaring in the sky, in the water that we have access to. Nothing is beyond Allah's control. And humanity, number 3, humanity is helpless. We depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, we depend in this world as well, and we will depend in the hereafter as well. And number 4, recognizing our complete dependence on Allah in the face of life's most basic needs, like water, is the beginning of learning humility. So, important, do not just be like animals. Use the faculties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, contemplate your purpose, and place your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recognizing that He alone provides guidance and sustenance. This was Surah Al-Mulk. I had promised that I would tell you the story of Sa'id bin Amir. I told you that he observed what happened to Khubayb. After that, Sa'id bin Amir started thinking about this, and this surah was revealed in Makkah, so people in Makkah knew about it, and he learned, and obviously these evidences from the Quran affected him, and he became a Muslim, and then he made hijrah to Medina, and he joined the Prophet ﷺ, and he participated in the Battle of Khaybar, and the Prophet ﷺ was happy with him after that. And then the Prophet ﷺ passed away. Sa'id bin Amir then continued to serve the Muslim community in Medina in the Khilafah of Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar. And in the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar, he actually would go to Umar and remind him of his role for the Ummah and remind him of the responsibility that was on his shoulders. So Umar was always looking for competent people who could help him serve the Ummah. And he told Sa'id, okay, yeah, you come and give me all this advice, but I want you to do something for me. I want you to become the governor of Homs, which is a place in Syria. So Sa'id said, no, I am not interested in any responsibility like that. That's very tough. I'm not interested. And Umar said, oh, it's really bad that you give me advice to be just, and then you yourself are not taking responsibility, and you put all this responsibility on my shoulders. Anyway, he convinced Saeed to become the governor of Homs. So Saeed left. After a while, some people from Homs came as a delegation to Medina. And Umar bin Khattab, he sat down with them and he started talking to them. And Umar used to do that. He used to try to find out what was happening in different parts of the Khilafah. So he asked them, can you tell me what the condition is like in Homs? Can you give me the names of people who need help? So they had a list. So Umar took that list and he started looking at the names. And in that list, he found the name of Saeed, who was the governor of Homs. So he asked them, really? The governor? The governor needs financial help? They said, yeah, he didn't ask for it, but we made a list of people that we know need help. And we know that he needs help because we look at his house and no smoke comes out of it for days, which means they don't cook anything for days on end because they obviously don't have anything to cook. So Umar remembered that he had offered Saeed uh, like a salary, but Saeed had declined. He said all Muslims used to get a stipend at that time. He said the stipend is enough for me. So Umar then started crying because he realized that Saeed was, because of his zuhud, he did not want to take any money from him. So Umar then prepared from the Bayt al-Mal, he took some money, 1,000 dinars, and he sent that money with those people, with that delegation back to Homs. He said, give him my salam and then tell him that this was sent by Amir al-Mu'mineen for your expenses. So those people came and Saeed, they knocked, Saeed opened the door and said, yes, he said, this was sent by Umar. So Saeed took it. And then he went inside and he opened it up. He saw 1,000 dinars in there and he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And he moved back. So this was halal money, by the way, sent to him by the Amir al-Mu'mineen for him to spend. But he had decided to spend a certain type of life. He had decided to spend his life in a certain type of way. And I'm not talking about halal and haram here. I'm talking about azima. I'm talking about recognizing what this life is worth and recognizing what the afterlife is worth. So he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So his wife said, what happened? So he said, the world has come to my door. So she said, okay, then perhaps we can take care of it. And he asked her, okay, will you help me then? She said, sure. So together they divided up all of those 1,000 dinars into small bags. And they knew who in the Homs area was needy. There were some widows, there were some orphans, there were some people in certain tribes who were very, very poor. So all of that money, they sent it out. And that night he just made sure that all of that money was gone. And he came back to living his life the way he did. Some time later, Umar ibn Khattab came back to visit Homs and he found that the people of Homs were always complaining about things. And they complained to him about their governor, about Sa'id. So Umar ibn Khattab said, okay, well, why don't you come and bring him as well? So they were all brought together. So he told the people of Homs, okay, tell me, what are your complaints? Now that the governor is here, I want him to answer for them. So they said, we have a problem with him. The first problem that we have with him is that he doesn't come out until the sun has already come up. Let's say 9 o'clock or something like that. He only comes out at night. He doesn't come out, let's say, immediately after praying Fajr. So Umar al-Khattab said, okay, Saeed, answer for this. So Saeed said, actually, the reality is that I don't have a servant and I'm responsible for my family. So in the morning, I wake up and then after Fajr, then I knead the dough. This is before people had fridges, by the way. So I knead the dough and I have to wait for it to rise. And then when it rises, then I bake it or I make khubz or make roti with it. And then I serve that roti to my family and then I'm able to leave. So it takes me some time to do that. So they said, okay. Then Umar bin Khattab asked, okay, then what is your next complaint? And Saeed all this time is very hesitant to reveal his personal details. He's a very private person. But then he said to those people, okay, what is your second complaint? They said that he doesn't listen to anyone at night. So if we want to talk to him at night, he doesn't listen to us. So Umar al-Khattab said, Saeed, answer. And Saeed actually didn't want to answer. He hesitated, but he was pushed, so he had to answer. And he explained, he said, actually, my commitment with these people is that my day is for them and my night is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at night, I spend my time in prayer. That's why I dedicate my time for that. So Umar said, okay, that answers that complaint. What is your next complaint? So then those people said, the people of Homs, they said, our next complaint is that he sometimes disappears for a whole day and doesn't come. So Umar Khattab asked Said, okay, what's going on with that? So Said said, okay, I'd rather not say. But anyway, he was pushed, so he had to explain. So this was his explanation. He said, I only have one pair of clothes. And when they get dirty, I have to wash them. And when I have to wash them, I have to wait for them to dry before I can put them on and come back out. That's why sometimes during the day I disappear. I have to wash and dry my clothes and come back out. So Umar al-Khattab said, okay, that answers that question. Then he asked the people of Homs, okay, do you have any other complaint? They said, yeah, we have one other complaint, which is that sometimes when he's sitting with us, he goes into this shock, almost like a trance. And when we're talking to him, he doesn't respond. So Umar ibn Khattab asked Saeed, okay, answer for this. And Saeed didn't want to say, but eventually, under pressure, he responded. He said, yes, actually, sometimes I remember what the people of Makkah, my people, had done to Khubayb, how they had tortured him to death. And I was not a Muslim at that time, but I should have helped him, and I didn't. And I think about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might hold me accountable for that on the day of judgment. So when I think about that, I go into the state of fear and shock. So Abu al-Khattab then, very visibly, he thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that his perception of Sa'id was correct. So then Umar al-Khattab again sent him 1,000 dinars and said, these are for your expenses. And Sa'id did exactly the same thing. He talked to his wife. He said, can you please help me? And the wife was also a good wife, and she had also agreed with him to spend that, which was obviously a difficult life. It's kind of like you're trading your life in this world for the life in the hereafter. So once again, they took that 1,000 dinars and they put them in small bags and distribute them among the poor and downtrodden of their society. Why would Said do that? Why would Said choose to live a life like that? That is actually what Surah Al-Mulk is about. Surah Al-Mulk, as we saw last time, starts with Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk, starts with the explanation of the reality of what we see around us. This is a dominion. All control is in the hands of this kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this kingdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left signs for us, signs that lead us to a life that is going to go on forever. So whoever is deeply, thoroughly convinced of this will eventually, of course, make the kinds of choices that Khubayb made and the kinds of choices that Said made. This, my brothers and sisters, was the second part. Our homework is the same as last time. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from me and from you. Assalamu alaikum.